Hello, my name is Michelangelo and today I am sharing with you my October wrap-up. So the first book that I read this past month was 800 Grapes by Laura D. In this particular book, our main character's name is Georgia. She's a week away from getting married when she finds out a big secret about her fiance, and that leads her to run off to the comfort of her family's vineyard, hence the title 800 Grapes, because apparently that's how much you need to make a bottle of wine or something like that. And even though she thinks she's going to be finding comfort at home, it turns out everybody has secrets of their own. So Georgia just cannot seem to escape these. It was a delightful read. That's what I kept thinking as I was reading it. It's like the equivalent of watching a Hallmark movie of sorts where like a girl gets into a situation and she runs away to try and figure that situation out and then everything falls into place. It's very formulaic and it's also very predictable. So while I did enjoy it, it's definitely nothing original. The next book I read I was super excited about, and that is Carry On by Rowell. If you read Rowell's books, or if you have at least read Fangirl, then you have heard of Simon Snow. In the book Fangirl, our main character, Kath, writes this fan fiction about these Harry Potter-esque books called Simon Snow and the whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Because Rowell came up with the characters and she said she just could not put them away. Like, she wanted to find out what was going to happen with these guys. I didn't know a lot about this going in, so that's really all I'm going to tell you. You just have to read it. The characters are fantastic, especially Baz. Especially Baz. So if you're a fan of Rowell, even if you don't like fantasy or magic or anything like that, pick it up because it still has that wonderful Rowell-ness about it. After that, I finally picked up Gayle Forman's I Was Here. I pre-ordered this and it came out I think in February, and I had not touched it until last month. This book is about an 18-year-old girl named Cody whose best friend Meg kills herself. And Cody is completely shocked because Meg is one of those people that is like a ray of sunshine in Cody's life, and people seem to gravitate towards her. She ends up going to get Meg's stuff from college, and through that she meets her roommates and learns a little bit about Meg that she wasn't really aware of. And also she starts to do a little investigating via documents on Meg's computer to see why or if Meg really did kill herself. It's definitely a heavy story, but it's pretty fast-paced because it does have a bit of a mystery element to it. Gayle Forman threw a wonderful epilogue in the back discussing how depression is a very serious illness. The one complaint I have, and it does seem to be pretty common, there's like a love story of sorts, or like a love interest, and it definitely felt a bit misplaced and unnecessary. Even though this isn't my favorite Gayle Forman book, I'm going to continue reading her work. I've really been into graphic novels and comics lately, so I picked up Anyas Ghost. It seemed appropriate for the month of October and Halloween and fall and spookiness. And this is a really great, cute story about a girl named Anya who is a Russian immigrant. She's lived in America for a long time. I want to say the majority of her life, and she's really Americanized herself. She just wants to be liked. And then the ghost comes in because Anya falls into this hole in this park, and there's a skeleton down there, and it turns out that it is the skeleton of this dead woman from like a century ago or whatever. And because one of the bones from the skeleton ends up in Anya's purse when she gets saved, the ghost follows Anya. And of course Anya is terrified, but she also starts to see that the ghost can kind of help her, and they become good friends. Unfortunately, ghosts aren't always trustworthy. I just thought it was a well-done graphic novel that I really enjoyed. In September, I didn't read any Colleen Hoover books, and I was definitely aching for some co-hosts. So I finally decided to pick up Slammed and the sequel, Point of Retreat. Slammed is about an 18-year-old named Lakin who moves to Michigan from Texas with her mother and her younger brother. The reason is because her father suddenly passed away. So of course Lakin's upset. She has to carry out her senior year in a new place. But there happens to be a very attractive man, well, he's 21, so like a 21-year-old man boy person, who lives across the street, and they have insta attraction, insta love. Everything is just, it seems like they're gonna be going strong. And then some things happen to complicate the relationship. I knew very little about this going in, and I recommend you do the same, which is exactly why I'm not going to tell you anything about Point of Retreat. The only thing I will tell you is the one thing that definitely disappointed me. This one is told from Laken's perspective. Even though this is a continuation of the story as opposed to a retelling of this story, it's from Will's perspective, and I didn't like going into his head. I really wish I had stayed in Laken's, especially since there is a third book in this slammed series that is just slammed from Will's perspective. I decided to pick up Marbles, Mania, Depression, Michelangelo, and Me, which is a graphic memoir by a cartoonist named Ellen Forney. I really enjoyed this. It's a memoir, but it's completely in cartoon format or comic format. It is specifically about her journey with bipolar disorder. Like, bipolar disorder is a serious thing. It's like two different kinds of moods. Depression, the lowest of the low, and mania, which is the highest of the high. People with mania often do very reckless things because they feel like they're untouchable. And then of course depression, they feel like absolutely nothing. And trying to control bipolar disorder is very hard because finding a medication that will leave you in a middle ground without completely zapping your energy, sending you into a manic spiral, or sending you into depression is really hard. So reading about her journey was fantastic. It's more about accepting living with this disorder, learning about self-care, learning that you do need to take medication and figure those things out. I really do think that people would find this very helpful. After Marbles, I read Winger by Andrew Smith, and a lot of people on YouTube, on the booktube side, love to talk about the fact that the end of Winger was like a punch in the chest, like just a real surprise. I needed to know what the heck was going on. The story itself is about a 14-year-old boy named Ryan Dean West who goes to Pine Mountain, which is this private school where a lot of rich kids go, but also a lot of troubled kids go. And despite the fact that he's 14, he is a junior in high school. We never really learn why. I guess we're just supposed to assume that he is smart, and he is. He is the typical 14-year-old boy, in my opinion. He's horny and a jokester and angry. The story really just follows his junior year of high school, and then this thing happens, and it's towards the end, and I don't want to say what it is, obviously. I would never do that to you. But it felt a little cheap. It was well written. I think fans of Looking for Alaska by John Green would love it. It's got that same like prep school, boarding school vibe to it. But there was something very disappointing about the way that he chose to end it. And while I would like to pick up the sequel, Standoff, I'm a little nervous about it because I don't know if it will make me feel better about the story. But I also picked up volumes 1 and 2. This is just volume 2 of Lumberjanes, which is a comic book. When I read the first volume, I was really disappointed because it felt sloppy. But what really bothered me was I felt like I never knew what was going on with the characters. Like, it just jumped right into a story. There's no, I'm this person and I'm that person. I know that's weird, and there doesn't always have to be this blatant exposition, but I kind of needed something because there are 5 characters, these 5 best friends, and I was like, wait, who's Ripley? Who's Joe? Like, which one's which? And I still don't know all of their names to this point. But the second volume I really enjoyed because it actually did follow a plot line. It picked up where the last volumes left off and really made a story out of the mess of the first few comics. I thought this one, in particular the second volume, was very funny, so I look forward to reading more of this. I have given it another shot, and I think that it will definitely continue to redeem itself. But yeah, the first volume, if you read it and you feel kind of like about it, give the second volume a try because it really does pick up and the characters get fleshed out a little bit more and it makes more sense. And those are all the books I read in October. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!